Subscribe to our YouTube channel for in-depth interviews of India Inc. and press the bell icon so that you do not miss our updates.
Hello and welcome to Nirmal Bang, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hiral Dadia. We have with us Dr. Pavan Singh, MD at PTC India Financial, joining in. Welcome to the show, Dr. Singh, and always a pleasure to speak to you. My first question coming to you is overall in terms of where FY21 goes, majority of the times, I think, or majority of the quarters have been impacted due to COVID. How was FY21 for a PTC as well?
Yeah, see, if we look for PTC Financial, what we did is that in the first 3 months and also the subsequent 6 months, we had little cautious approach as far as the loan book growth was concerned. So there was almost freeze in the first quarter. Second quarter, we were very slow, extremely cautious. So we, started doing serious business only in the third quarter and fourth quarter. But we made up for whatever, first and second quarter we had lost. So we were able to do a fairly good amount of sanction this year because we were able to do close to 4,100 crores, and we were able to do disbursement close to 2,700 crores. And out of which the sanction about 1,800 crore happened in the last quarter, and similarly disbursement 1,350 crores happened. That is almost 50% happened in the last quarter. And this is a improvement. In fact, sanction we improved by almost 30%. Disbursement we marginally improved over last year. So in terms of business, it has, if I compare the preceding year and this year, but of course the preceding year for also, we didn't have a COVID problem, but we had this liquidity challenge post ILFS. So that was one of the dampener for. Now both are behind us. I mean the pandemic as well as I hope so, because we we have to see as things unfold. But presumably the day today as we are talking, the pandemic is behind us, the liquidity challenge is behind us. So what we did in the 3 and 4 quarter and what we missed on first and second quarter, we hope to do, in fact, third and fourth we will do in the first and second. And what we did in third and fourth, it will be better of what we did in third and fourth current year. So as far as we are concerned, we have budgeted a sanction of close to 7,000 crores and disbursement of 4,000 crores. So we are well placed as far as our business is concerned. Of course, we have been very constantly, because one of the issues which were there in our balance sheet, the legacy issue of the thermal asset. And 3 years back we had 30% thermal. We have reduced it to close to 10% now. So thermal asset also meant stress asset. So my 10% of thermal, almost a large portion of that is stress asset. And fortunately this year, the year which went by, we did substantial cleaning of the balance sheet, and last quarter we made a huge provisioning. And I can now safely say that the provisioning cycle is behind us. And in fact, in one case we had an offer of 90 crore, but we wanted some small regulatory compliance to be carried out before we took that one time 90 crore. So that we expect a write back of 90 crore to happen in the current year. So net, we hope that on the provisioning side, it will be, which was my biggest, you can say that, biggest drain on my profitability and various efficiency parameters. That is behind us, and we will be able to, there net, no further provisioning, very negligible provisioning if it happens, will happen. And there is a very strong possibility of this write back of 90 crores coming back to our balance sheet. So, the way we look at it is that probably, in our company, probably, I don't know what strange mystic relationship we have with the environment, economy, and where things have folded for society and our company. Almost, we have moved uh, when society was in problem, we were also in problem. So
Right.
now society has come out of the problem at the same time. We have also come out of our challenges and problems. So
Hmm,
growth
hmm,
being there, and the growth are happening in sectors where the sunshine industry, lot of regulatory clarity, and that we have developed very strong underwriting capability in this area. Also, 3 years back, we embarked upon this journey of moving from decarbonizing our balance sheet and moving from, coal to, basically projecting ourselves as a green, renewable, sustainable finance company. So we have moved in that direction quite a bit. And the new buzzword which we have added this year is, because renewable is almost 50% of my book today.
hmm,
But the buzzword for us is that not only renewable, we have to be ahead of curve. So we say additionality in sustainability.
hmm,
So the new areas which we have taken up is, like clean drinking water, your urban sanitation,
hmm,
your waste management, your Namami Gange project, your e-mobility, and of course, in renewable, we have also moved to what we call group captive PPA and third-party PPA. So we are trying to be, a company which is additionality into sustainability. Also, it's very important to note that we no longer are we are no longer that way, which we were seen as a lenders to only power sector, maybe renewable or thermal. But if you look at my disbursement pattern, you will find that in my new disbursement pattern which we went by, so there's a uniform disbursement: 10% solar, 10% wind, 10%, 11% road, 10% transmission
hmm.
sector, 10% the additional, and then of course the and thermal, of course, nil, disbursement which we have done. So this is where the pattern of the company as it is evolving in future. It is changing from being a power play to a diversified, sustainable infrastructure finance company. We have also taken a small exposure in port sector. So but wherever we take exposure, we are, we two things which we strongly, which has been our learning in the past, is that we do project finance without taking project risk. And because our burning of hand basically has been basically in the areas where, we did too much of a greenfield, absolutely greenfield
Yeah.
project, and where cost overruns and uncertainties about projects created problems. So now, whatever we take project finance, we have a smaller gestation period, and at least we ensure that certain basic threshold requirements like concession agreement or power purchase agreement, the third-party PPA, the third-party PPA, the land acquisition, the clearances which are required, approvals, all that are approval, all that are available before we do the financial closure. So that way we have quite a bit reduced our project risk, and that is why you will find that my stresses, which are only from the legacy assets, and last 3 years, whatever we have done, there is no pressure on account of. Plus, we have tried to move to a high yielding variety of lending, and that is also reflected in our higher yield spreads and NIMs,
Hmm.
because our NIMs and spreads have gone up quite a bit, and my yield is close to 11%, and my cost of fund has come down from close to 9% to 8%.
Correct, correct.
Spread
So,
is spread
right,
is 2.9%,
right.
9.8%.
So, Dr. Singh, if you could just help us understand, with regards to where FY22 is concerned, will we be able to hit the three-digit profitability mark? And secondly, on the asset quality front as well, do you think we will see a good amount of improvement?
Yeah, so because we had the focus for us was manifold, and one was, of course, the operational margin. And as I said, NIM spreads and all, we have taken care of it. That it is largely better, which should reflect in my earning for the current year. Also, what happens is that little bit of drag which happens is the stress assets which you carry in your books, the NPAs. So my net NPA has come down to 3%. But a very important part here is that the not the quantitative aspect, that 3%, which translates into about 268 crores net NPA. So it is also the qualitative aspect. When I say qualitative aspect, what does it mean? Qualitative aspect means that this 268 crore, they are at a very, very advanced stage of resolution. So, like for example, one asset, I don't want to go asset wise, but the one large asset is there out of this 268 crore. We have got a resolution plan, which we are going to file before the NCLT, which is close to my book value. So there is another asset, transmission line asset, where we called for bids, and we have got bids which are very, very close to the, again, the residual value of the asset, which, these two will constitute almost roughly, you can say 75% of this 306 crores. And this also, the bids have been finalized. We are taking it to our board for approval. And of course, we'll require a regulator's note before we go to the business transmission license involved. So that also in a quarter or so, so not only we know the value what we are going to get, because we have reached the resolution process is, the outcome of resolution process is over. Only the seal has to be put to it. Necessary, whatever approvals are required have to happen. But today what is going to be the impact of these resolution, and we have a very clear clarity on the timeline. It could be a 1 month plus 45 days plus month, not more than that, but we have a very clear timeline on residual assets. So we have brought down our net NPA to a very, very small number, 268 crore, and that also we say that we'll square up, and also 90 crore write back, as I said, should be coming during the year, subject to 1 or 2 approvals. So your question whether the profitability will be, if I heard you correctly, it will be three digit, you said, or
Yes.
3 digit. So I presume in 100 crores you are saying 3 digit. I think it should be closer to double of what you have mentioned. So what my expectation now is that it's a different balance sheet. The year which went by and the year which which is now starting is totally going to be a different year for us.
Right. And with this, Dr. Singh, the net interest margins have improved. And if you see the cost of funds, that's on a decline. Will we be able to maintain this? Is it sustainable?
Yeah. So if I look at the cost of funds for the current quarter, it has further reduced. Of course, marginally, but it has reduced. So, and because we pass on some of our reduction. So for this quarter, we have not passed on any reduction so far. So we feel that the spreads should be better than what they are. It should be marginally better than what it has been in the preceding quarter. That is the way we look at it.
Okay. And between advisory services, debt financing, and fee-based services, where are you seeing higher traction?
See, in fact, the other two are icing on the cake. So, it should be apple and orange comparison. Both are not comparable, but independently they have to be looked at. So, like what has happened in case of advisory services, we have spread out quite thinly and across, but then the number of clients we have been able to reach is voluminous. It has not translated that way into numbers because value-wise, if I take that as a proportion of my earning income, it would be not a very high percentage. It's a very, very small percentage of my total income. But what is very important is that we have been able to establish our, see, in consultancy business or advisory business, it's very important that you build up your qualifying requirements, that is your eligibility. So it's very important that you keep on getting businesses, and so even if you're not making a huge margin initially, you tend to what you do is that you try to build up your client base and you become eligible, because if you've done work for 20, 30 industries or institutions, so you build up your credentials so that you become eligible to get qualify anywhere to get the business. So this is where we have built up that competence and capability, which should translate into numbers as we go forward in the advisory side. But in the fee-based advisory, because underwriting is our strong area, because credit underwriting is very, very strong. And credit underwriting, of course, we did have a reasonably good fee-based income, but there is a huge upside potential, which last 2 years we have not been able to tap, which we hope that this year we will be able to tap, because a little bit towards end of this year, there has been, in fact, there has been a little bit of crowding of, areas like, for example, renewable space. There has been little crowding of lenders, and that is why downselling and underwriting and downselling has not been the way it should happen. And that is the reason we have also, we said that we'll move from additionality sustainability. So the areas where we are, like, we were the first movers in the area of renewable energy. So we have moved into e-mobility, water sanitation, urban waste management, water distribution. And these are the areas, e-vehicle charging and all that. So these are the areas where we will be able to underwrite. And because there are institutions who have to, banks come later on, because banks feel when all these things are over, and then of course when they have to do refinancing, they come and probably they do cannibalization, and some cannibalization has happened in renewable space. So this is an area, so we'll be able to use whatever lending we are doing here, the underwriting, which all that. So we'll be able to downsell quite a bit, and we hope to go back to what we used to do earlier, underwrite and downsell. But of course, we take, because since we are changing our product line, we have moved from more to project finance to kind of a hybrid financing. We do bridge finance, we do kind of top-up financing, we do last mile financing, we do mesh financing. So these are areas which normally attract a very high fee income, compared to traditional project finance, where the fee as a percentage of total loan book is falling quite negligible. That is also because of the competition which is there in lending, wherever borrowing or lending is happening. So that is why the strategy to move to a different product line helps us to, because this is a niche area and not many players do enter. So since we are building book in this area, and this is becoming a large chunk of our book as we go forward. So this should add to my fee-based income.
Right. And overall, with regards to an additional credit line of 1650 odd crores, what's the update on that front?
No, we already have in fact, we are surplus. We have a liquidity of close to 1600 crore already in our balance sheet. So what we call HQLA requirement as per RBI is only close to 500 crores, but we have close to over 1600 crores. We are already having surplus. We have 1800 crores worth of undrawn lines which are available. So liquidity is no longer a challenge. And you will look at my, in fact, if you look at my, short-term to long-term ratio, in 2000,
that has improved. Yeah.
In 2017 it was 65-35. In 18 it was 68-32, and we have brought it down to 90-10 today.
Correct.
So that is one of the, when you're overbought, you can always take longer term loans over short.
Correct. Right. And with regards to the stressed accounts as well, we've said that around 580 odd crores, which is under resolution, could be resolved in the current financial year. So do you think that's going to be a easy possibility of resolving the 580 crore worth of stressed accounts, or do you think we will be slightly lower than that?
No, see, I tell you, when I say stage 3 accounts, see, there is a NPA amount and there is a stage 3 non-NPA amount which is there. So out of the total which I have with me, the stress asset which I have, the 263 crore I have already told is my net NPA which is available today. 263 crore net NPA. So that I've already given a figure that we got a resolution plan, which is there already there, and where we hope to get almost closer to the value of the book which is standing. And in one case, we are hopeful of getting, also we are hopeful of getting the underwriting, the 90 crore write back, which I had mentioned about. See, there are two assets which are stage 3 and which are not falling in NPA category, and this is ILFS and another one is Danu. So ILFS resolution plan is already approved, and since it is a government has now taken over ILFS, so it is the first item for listing in the NCLT when it opens by end of this month. So we hope by July the resolution will be available. So there, of course, we don't, the resolution will be available and will. So the plant is doing very well. They have huge amount in the TRA, so we expect some cash flows to, some auto sweep, some additional cash will come to the lenders. As far as the Danu wind is concerned, this is an Andhra wind energy project, and this is we are having two-pronged strategy here. One is, of course, the Wind Energy Association, government, and all are taking up with the Andhra government to resolve it, and they are getting a little optimistic now, but then before to get a resolution, and High Court hearing is there by end of this month. But as a parallel, as a backup arrangement, we have also gone to ARC and got bids from there, which is closer to our loan book value. So as I said, in the next quarter, we will be able to resolve this. So these are the two accounts over and above. Over and above my 250 plus your ILFS, roughly about 150. So this is 300 and this 268. So that, the numbers are what you have told.
Right.
So that is how, this is where we are. So I said that we are in a very, very advanced stage. As far as stress is concerned, we are out of stress, both mentally as well as physically stressed.
Absolutely. Right. All right, Dr. Singh. Thank you so much for getting us that update and speaking to us. Good insights, and that you shared with us in this candid conversation as well. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Good luck. Stay safe and speak to you soon again.
Thank you. You also remain safe, and your family also. Thank you so much. I enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much.